So welcome everybody to Let's Thrive and Shine Beyond Belief, the podcast that targets ambitious professionals, leaders, entrepreneurs and business owners that may potentially be having that little bit of an imposter or got those limiting beliefs that might be holding them back from being able to thrive and shine to where they need to be, or potentially they're getting so busy and busy in life that are actually not finding time for themselves to be able to re-energize and recuperate. And potentially that little burnout thing is actually kicking in. And here's the thing, there's so many of us have experienced that journey. And that's why it's so important to have amazing guests like Yvonne come on that's going to share their journeys, their stories about how they've unlocked maybe the limiting beliefs or the imposter or slipped into burnout at some point or another, and sharing tips and advice of how they can help you to be able to do it in a much healthier way, because after all, we're all limitless and we should be able to thrive and shine. Anyway, without further ado, I'd love to introduce the lovely Yvonne, which I have to say has got an amazing backdrop behind her with beautiful flowers, which is really nice and refreshing. So anyway, Yvonne, introduce yourself, please. Tell us a bit about your story and where you got to and why you are now helping others to thrive and shine.
Sure. Thanks so much, Keely. And thank you so much for having me on as well. I absolutely love your message of helping people thrive and shine. It really resonates with me. So yeah, I love it. I'm Yvonne Tojak. I'm a women's leadership coach. So I work with women who are professionally employed in leadership roles, such as directors, senior managers, aspiring leaders as well as founders, female founders who are either running their own business already or have decided to take that leap from employment to self-employment, which is super exciting. So I help women like that break through their mindset blocks and really build the confidence and get the clarity they need to be able to take those next steps with courage and really take control of their career success so that they can do the work that makes them feel proud and not sacrifice their well-being, which is super important. That's all part of the thriving bit. So yeah, my journey, it really comes off the back of my own experience. So I started off as an accountant in my very early career, a couple of years of that. And then I moved into finance. So I was a finance business partner for 14 years in higher education, both in Australia and in the UK. And throughout that time, I had never heard of coaching or anything like that. And I experienced a lot of imposter syndrome myself. And as you can imagine, the whole stress, anxiety, social anxiety, that holding back from speaking up in meetings and that almost going for it, then holding back and kicking yourself when somebody else says what you wanted to say, that cycle. And I've just recently realized also it wasn't just imposter syndrome, it was also a bit of boredom. So I think it goes hand in hand with the purpose bit, doesn't it? So I experienced all of that. And as I stepped up into more leadership roles, it just got bigger. And, the stress got bigger. I did burn out eventually in 2019. But, all that power posing, all the mindfulness work, all of that, I did all of that, but it just wasn't enough. And it was because in hindsight, I hadn't done enough inner work, working on the beliefs and getting clear on my purpose. So now that I've come out of that and come out the other side, I am thankfully fortunate enough to be able to help other women do the same thing. So I've been doing that I've been in business for about 2 years. I've been coaching for about 4. So I feel very fortunate to be able to help other women and some men too, to be able to overcome their blocks and barriers, because as you say, we are limitless.
Yeah, we are. Well, I mean, as you say, is that it's this little voice in our head that can hold us back on so many things, to say we're not enough. And it's amazing now that you sort of realise, because I quite often hear that, people doing like sort of the meditation and yoga and all those kind of things. Or even going to see a therapist, but they're not always asking the questions that you want for you to be able to dig deep in yourself and understand what's driving those limiting beliefs, telling you that you're not enough, because ultimately it's whether it's through our parents, our schooling, businesses, our friends, your culture that you live in. It can have such a massive impact on you. And yet, if you can't ask yourself the questions of where that's coming from, then how can you unlock it? So
yeah, I say all the power posing in the world, you can power pose your heart out, but if you haven't unlocked the inner stuff, you're not going to really move forward, are you? Yeah, and the other thing I've noticed is that, and it's come more and more to light, which I'm glad about, is that women and men who are experiencing these imposter feelings and limiting beliefs, they struggle silently, like I did back then, struggle silently alone, and they think that they're the only ones who feel the way they do, which just adds to their stress. But they don't have to feel that way because it's so common, and I see that now. But people who are still in those roles don't always see that.
no. No, well, the thing is that quite often the ambitious ones, they're the ones that, although they're very resilient, they're also afraid of actually sharing that they might be seen as being weak, or they're not good enough, or might be judged and all those kind of things. So they want to come out as this stalwart character that can soldier on in anything, any situation, and I've got all the answers and I can do everything. Because they don't want to be seen as that one that's a failure. And the irony of it is that every single person that's sitting around that room is probably experiencing exactly the same feeling and the same self-doubt. So, and it's incredible, how it can hold us back and stop us, as I turn around and say, it's not a glass ceiling, it's a concrete ceiling, because you're the one that's actually put it there, not other people. So
yeah, totally, exactly. And it also impacts on their relationships at home. I remember just talking about this. When you're so consumed by what's going on at work and how you think you're not good enough and everyone is staring at you and judging you, which they're not, they're all thinking about themselves. You can't be present at home. It just like chips away at your energy and your confidence. So at home, you're like a blob. You're just trying to recover and recharge from the work, and you're surviving rather than thriving.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the important thing. It is surviving, and the impact it does have on your family or your friends or your work colleagues, because you do start getting a little bit snippy, not as patient or tolerant, because you're getting frustrated with yourself, and then you're getting frustrated by the situation. You're getting frustrated by other people that have excelled. Because one of the great things with men is that they've got more confidence in taking calculated risks. Whereas quite often with women, we don't have the courage to do it. I think you and I was talking about the fact that with men, if they apply for a job, it's 55% of it. They go, no, I'll go for it. If it's women, it's like, I've got to have at least 85% of it before I apply for it. And then women have they make the mistake of saying, oh, men are accelerating above us and all that kind of thing. What is that? Well, if we don't put ourselves forwards, then we're not going to have these opportunities. So we are fascinating creatures, aren't we, people?
And I think if we think about it from the point of view as we're the example, we have a responsibility to pave the way for other women to step up as well, just like the women before us paved the way for us. So I suppose if people think about it from a bigger point of view, then I find that helps as well.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's like the ripple effect, I like to call it. Because if you see someone else achieve things, particularly when you've got people that are in a location, because I think one of the things that hold us back is the people you surround yourself with and where you live and all those kind of things. So you see other people that are not succeeding, not achieving results, or saying you can't do that, that's never possible, and all those kind of things. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you come from. Anything is possible. It's just you being able to switch off that limiting belief that you've got and being able to just take up opportunities where they are. So, yeah.
Exactly. And it takes work to dismantle those unhelpful beliefs and rebuild them into helpful ones. But it's just like chipping away at it, just keep going and keep being consistent. And I think a lot of people hope to see results quickly. And I was like that as well. And you can get results more quickly than if you did nothing, obviously. But getting that support you need, working with a mentor or a coach or somebody who can help you, will definitely get you there more quickly, but it's ultimately up to you to take those actions and be consistent about it. I always say, I mean, I'm very big on routine. I'm really good at staying on top of my routine. So I think for me, it's not such a struggle, but I know there are lots of people who struggle with taking that consistent action, especially if they don't see results straight away. They think, oh, this isn't working, and give up. But who knows how close they've come to making that breakthrough if they just kept going.
Yeah, don't get put off by the no's, because you never know, that no might eventually be yes.
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter in what thing you're doing. Eventually, if you keep on chipping away at it, it doesn't matter whether it's small steps of action, but at least you're moving forwards. But if you don't take any action at all, it's never going to change. And I think, as we say, is that the definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And the reality of it is that, you know,
It is,
you've got
isn't
to do
it?
something.
Yeah.
Also, it does mean that you do need to start surrounding yourself with other people that have got more belief in themselves. And as you say, and if you see other people that are thriving, you think, well, if they can do it, then maybe I can. And I think that's why it's good in people from all different backgrounds and seeing how they've achieved results. I mean, I know many, particularly women, that have come from different parts of the world which have not had opportunities, and they've come over with, you know, almost like 27 pounds in their and a suitcase, and they're now 6, 7 figure, you know, women, because they've had belief. They've had a clear vision and they know how they're going to get there. But also at the same time is looking after their health through that journey, because if you don't look after your health as well. A quick question. So if you was able to go back to your 20-year-old self, which I know wasn't that long ago, because you still look amazingly young, but if you was able to go back to your 20-year-old self, what would you actually tell yourself?
Oh gosh. So many things, but if I had to tell myself one thing, I would probably say that, Yvonne, you are in control. You can choose. You have the choice to do differently if you are not happy with where you are now or whatever's going on. You have the choice to do differently and to do something about it, and that is within your control. Even the thoughts that you think, you can choose to think differently, because now I understand how interconnected thoughts and beliefs and feelings and all of those things are. So I would tell myself to choose and do differently, and to take the wheel. You're in the driver's seat. You can do anything if you just believe that you can and get clear on what you want and make a plan to get there, as you've said before, which I am a big advocate of telling everybody.
And enjoying the journey as well. Because I mean, it's great. I think both you and I are massive advocates of discovering your why, you know, and knowing what your vision is incredible. But please do not race towards that end goal without actually being present and enjoying the journey. Because if you don't enjoy the journey, that's going to keep on moving away and moving away anyway. It's going to get further away, because you're never going to be happy. You're never going to be satisfied, because that's never going to make you happy, that end goal, with all the will in the world. But be present, live now, enjoy the journey, and do take time out for yourself. So I love that that's what you're saying to yourself, that you do have a choice. I was at a speaker academy this weekend, and one of the guys that's there, Charlie, we have very similar business, so it's almost laughable when we start talking about the stuff we train and coach. And he was saying that we have over 90% of the factors that influence how our limiting beliefs are external factors, and it is our internal representation of it and our choices that influence how that will actually change our desired future. And it's so true, isn't it? Because I mean, external factors will happen. Life happens. Shit happens. And you can't do anything about that, but you can choose how you respond to that situation.
Yeah, exactly. I always talk about that in my so I also deliver workshops, and particularly around resilience. And I always say that there's always more than one way to look at something. And the beauty of that is that you can change the way you see something so that you get a better outcome or result next time. And it's just such a revelation. I think it sounds obvious, but people aren't consciously aware of it.
Learning from the experiences, because well, what am I learning from this experience? And it can be really hard sometimes. Unfortunately, my brother passed away a couple of years ago, and it's something that you never expect to happen, and definitely for your parents, for them to actually experience it as well, because that's not the order of things. But if you can change your mindset of how that situation can be seen or perceived, I was like, it is tragic. What can I learn from this? How can I approach this in a healthier way? Because if you don't, it'll eat away from you, and you're never going to be able to move forwards. And they don't want you to be stuck in that situation where you're never moving forward. So it is important to be able to learn from every situation.
And it's not just about, and it's also, I think, it's not about judging ourselves and for feeling the way we do. I think it's normal, obviously, to work through the grief and have those feelings that come up initially, but then it's what do you do after that, isn't it? How do you respond? Like, it's like putting your hand on a hot stove. It's helpful to feel that pain initially, but then what are you going to do? You're going to leave your hand there or take it off.
Yeah. Okay, so the other question then, so what 3 tips would you give to the listeners to be able to help them to thrive and shine?
So we've touched upon this already, Keely, but I will try and make it very clear here. So my top 3 tips would be figure out what you want, get clear on what you want, not what you don't want, because I've come across so many people who, when I ask them, what do you want? They always say, oh, I don't want this, or I want less of this, which isn't a want, it's what are you trying to get away from? And I get that, because if you're in a tricky situation, you're thinking about how do I get out of this?
Yeah.
But without getting clear on what you want, you can't make a plan to get there. So that's super important. The other one is, and I've experienced this myself, quick fixes are not going to cut it. Oh my gosh, the number of times I went out and like filled my online shopping cart with shoes or clothes or whatever. Quick fix. Oh my goodness. All the Elemis creams that I've still got upstairs, just unopened. Yeah, they were all quick fixes because I was not happy with certain situations I was in, and I thought, how can I make this go away quickly? And yeah, so it was all that online shopping or comfort eating, all of those sorts of things. They are nice in the short term, but it wears off really quickly and you're still stuck in that situation. So yeah, just being mindful of that and keeping your eye on the prize, I suppose. And the other bit would be, third tip would be to start sooner, start building those foundations sooner. If you are stuck somewhere or not happy somewhere, get really clear on what you want and just like get started right now, because right now is what matters, and you're building the foundations you need right now to set yourself up for success later. Because if you start later, you're just delaying your success and prolonging your stress.
Yeah. Well, and actually making it worse, aren't you? Because if you leave, that's the question I often ask people when they're going, oh, well, I can't do it right now, I'm too busy, or I can't do it now because, and you've got all you can hear is all these excuses of why not, as opposed to why you can. And I think one of the most important questions is so, well, if you continue as you are in 5 years' time, how are you going to be then? Because if you're already feeling like crap now, believe me, you're going to be so much unhealthier in 5 years' time. And not only will you be you've been going 1,000 miles an hour to achieve results in your business, or you've been sort of rushing along to, as you turn around and say, you've got the 4:30 club where they get up and do the ice baths and the yoga and the meditation, all that kind of journaling, got this in it, still do until that's it. They crash because your body goes, oh, well, you're not going to listen to me, so I'm going to do it for you. And have you seen it? You've probably heard it, is that so many that have gone crashed and burn out because they don't know what it is, they don't know what it looks like, and it's not me, it's never going to happen, I'm superhuman. And then what happens is they do it, and it's not 1 month, it's 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. And by then you've lost your career, you've lost your health, you've lost your relationships. And in some cases, you might even not have actually survived through that. So ask yourself the question, do I want to do something about this now so I can have a fulfilling and successful life, but healthy? Or do I want to just keep on going on the way I am now and not changing anything. So
exactly. And when you have these conversations with people, they're there because something inside them knows that they need that help and they want that support. So the excuses are kind of a surface thing, that initial fear of whatever they think they're going to lose in the short term. But reframing it the way that you have, it just makes it so clear what the decision should really be.
yeah. Yeah. And I think you just mentioned it as well. It's I mean, are you familiar with the phrase secondary gain? And as you turn around and say, you got these quick fixes because the self-sabotage, like social media, all of the photos, trying to look amazing, buying loads of stuff, eating junk food, drinking alcohol, taking drugs, whatever it may be, is a secondary gain because you're trying to avoid facing the situation that you're not trying to face because it's easier. If I do that, then it's avoidance. And as you turn around and say, as you're going online and, I'll buy that's going to make me happy. But it's finite thinking. It's not infinite thinking. And it just isn't going to keep on sustaining it. It's the same with a business. You can give someone a bonus, you can give someone a promotion, you can give someone a pay rise. But if they don't like their bloody job and they're unhappy, they're miserable, and it's Groundhog Day, they're never going to be happy and they're still going to feel like crap. And okay, they might be the highest paid miserable person in the world, but it ain't going to make you happy, is it?
Exactly. Yeah. And they're not stupid. Like a bonus is like you say, a finite thing, but it's going to wear off and they're going to recognize that. They're going to know that.
Yeah. Got it. I've come to a conclusion. I'd rather have very little money and be really, really, really happy and have the people around me that I love and I enjoy life than be a multi millionaire and be miserable as sin, because what's the point of living if you've got loads of money? It's going to lie on my deathbed and go, oh, I'm really happy I had loads of money. I'm going to lie on my deathbed and go, I've got all these wonderful people around me that love me. That's what makes me happy. So go on.
I was going to say it's leads to the question of like the typical coaching question of, what's your legacy? When you're at the end of your life and you look back, what would you like to have seen yourself achieved or be surrounded by? And it's like how you've described it. I think most people would go for that, and as long as they can make enough money to keep paying the bills, then I think what you've said sounds like the perfect life.
Indeed, absolutely. So it might be a book, it might be an audio, it might be a podcast, but if you was going to recommend something to the listeners to read, listen to, what would that be?
Oh gosh, okay. There are two books, but I'm going to start with the one that I'd originally thought about, and it's a book by Norman Vincent Peale. So he was an American clergyman. So there are some, little religious or God-related things in there, but the overall message of his book, called "You Can If You Think You Can," is that what it says, it's what it says on the cover: you can if you think you can. And he was around during the 20th century, most of the 20th century. So and he's collected so many case studies over the course of his career from different people who came to him for help. And a lot of these people were really down and out, were really desperate. They thought there was no other way, that was the end for them. And somehow they managed to come back out from where they were. They came out the other side and they found what they wanted to find, or a version of it. And it's so motivating to read all those case studies, because you think, oh, wow. And some of them, like a lot of them, are way worse off than wherever you think you are now. And they managed to come around the other side, because I suppose in the book they refer to it as faith, but you could also say it's self-belief, or however you choose to interpret it. The point is that they took that action and they had that belief and they came out and succeeded. And it's just really inspiring to read. And I remember reading it again at the start of the year, and I just thought, I'm so ready to. And it's just really, it gives you that boost. And so I would definitely recommend that. yeah, any of his other books about positivity, I would say go for those. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
and you're so right. There is so much opportunity. I mean, in fact, at the Speaker Academy, I was at the weekend. One of the things that Andy always says, because quite often people say, "Oh, I can't do speaking because of the way I talk. I can't do this because of that." And there's all of these excuses. And one of the things that he always says, why do you want to be like anybody else when you were born to stand out? Which might sound as jokingly called like one of the pithy statements that he comes out with, but they're really valuable pieces of advice. And interestingly, many of the people that come to him, they've been really successful people that have actually hit rock bottom, because when the world collapsed, in 2007, 2020, the world collapsed. Many businesses had to stop functioning altogether. And, quite often those individuals that have really hit that rock bottom state, gone from sort of really high status to this, when they hit that rock bottom stage, they tend to go towards jobs like doing cleaning, or, where it's just where you're getting like a minimum wage or something like that, because that's a safe space. It might not feel like a good space, but it's a safe space, because if they're there, then they can't achieve, failure is not going to happen again. You know what I mean? So and then what he's really good at is doing that mindset shift to then say, well, you've done this before, so you know that you can do it again. And it helps them to change their sort of beliefs of it, but also be who they are, be their unique self. Stop showing up pretending to be someone you're not, because all the while you're trying to pretend to be someone you're not, then that's when it starts killing you inside, and you're not actually doing things in a way that's congruent to you. And that's when it's likely to affect you even more. So,
Yeah, it's such a great example, because I think, and I've been there as well, where you're showing up with a mask based on what you think other people want to see from you, and it takes so much energy, and you lose focus on what you're actually supposed to be doing, or what you really should be focusing on. And it's just not sustainable. And I find like I'm still learning to fully be authentic. I think we all are, but as I do it more and more, I just feel so much more relaxed, or it's just like this weight has lifted from my shoulders, and it's just freeing.
it is 100% freeing. I mean, when I was in the corporate world, all the time, as you were telling and saying, you wearing that mask, because it was a mainly male-oriented place, you end up acting like a man within a man's world, because you think that's the only way you're going to get listened to. You're trying to be this positive sort of energy, because you're wearing that mask all the time. You don't want people to see what's going on behind the scene, so to speak. And you're saying, when you're not being that authentic self, it does destroy you, it does kill you inside. And the only time that I used to be me 100% is that I went to a music festival 2 weeks of the year, and it's like my sanctuary. I was there, I was not mum, I wasn't a wife, I wasn't like my mum's daughter, although we're all there together. We were just us, just being, enjoying the community, enjoying the music, the river, and I just relaxed. As soon as I'm in my tent, it took me literally 5 minutes. I mean, it was one of those ones that it's just like an umbrella. I popped it up, put the thing, and then out come the gin and tonic, and I was just relaxed.
Yeah, sounds amazing.
But the thing is that I shouldn't have to be like that just for 2 weeks of the year. And then as soon as I had this flip, I had the burnout, and then went through my own journey of recovery, which is obviously what I'm now teaching others. I learned to be me 365 days of the year. And it's so freeing not to be worrying about what other people think of you, because that's their problem, but being who you truly are and being happy. Not a personal persona and a professional persona. It's just me. What you see is what you get. And if you don't like it, that's your problem, not mine.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, I love that. It's just I think when people think try and be authentic or be themselves, it's scary to think about like what other people will think of you. But the interesting thing is that once you are able to be yourself, you don't have to care what other people think anymore. So it's like a
Yeah, definitely. So it's been absolutely fabulous chatting with you, and hopefully the next series can see you again. But before you go, have you got any, how can people reach you and find you? I know I'll be sharing your social media links, but have you got any assets that you would like to share with everybody so they can get a little bit more insight of you?
I think the best way would be in terms of assets is signing up to my newsletter. So I send out an email newsletter every week. And so that's where they can see me. I share insights, tips, personal experiences, and a bit of humor in there as well. So like this week, for example, this week's newsletter has nothing to do with women's leadership. It's all about like, this is a book that I've read lately, and this is the music I'm listening to. So yeah, there's some fun in there as well. So, and because I send it out so consistently, it's a great way for people to stay in touch and have a chat as well. And I also offer a complimentary call, usually about 5 a month, to anyone who wants to get that extra bit of support on where they are right now and where they want to get to, and what's been holding them back, of course. So those are the two main things that I would like to offer. And in terms of getting in touch, so I'm super active on LinkedIn. So Yvonne Tojak on LinkedIn, or Instagram, which is a bit of a graveyard, to be honest. I keep forgetting that I have my account while looking at everybody else's accounts. So either one of those would be a great way to get in touch.
Excellent, fantastic. Well, actually, you mentioned music, and I think one of the questions I did say to you that I was going to reach out to you on is that if you had a burnout playlist to put you in a good, positive, energized mood, what sort of tracks would you have on there?
Oh gosh. So I'm one of those weird people who doesn't listen to a lot of music, or yeah, those sorts of things, but I tend to like to wind down to them, or like when I need that boost, I'll put something on. So right now I'm listening to Tyrone Briggs music. So he's got a song called Victorious and another one called Champion, I think. There are a few different Champion songs and they're all really good. But it just really gets you up and just really boosted, really. And you usually see those sorts of tracks on documentaries about athletes, I found,
Yeah.
and it really gets you pumped. And so I think if you need that boost and feeling down in the dumps, that's a good way to go. But if I'm not needing a boost, just out of interest, I tend to go for the oldies type music because it's just easy listening.
Well, it depends on what you mean by oldies. It's probably my era.
Well, I'd say things like, what can I say? Anything from the 50s and 60s, I would say, that's just got a nice tune to it, easy on the ears.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just really just like that sort of stuff. I've
Oh,
announced it to the world now.
there's nothing wrong, but I'm very much sort of 30s, 40s as well. So it'd be like
Oh,
Ella Fitzgerald, Hot Club, Swing, all of
oh
those kind of
yeah.
things. Like Cole Porter, sort of, because I love the words as well. The words are amazing.
Mm.
And there's so much when you really listen to a lot of the songs, they're really naughty. But many people actually miss it. But if you really listen to it, it's just some of the afternoons we've had having a laugh about all the different tracks on it. But anyway, they are very uplifting, and yeah, I love
Oh,
it.
amazing. Oh, brilliant. Oh
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah, well, oh, God, I mean, we could go on about this. I think my taste in music is just anything that sounds good to my ear. Yeah, even
Yeah.
80s. I can't believe I'm saying this, but there are a couple of 80s songs that I like, like Kate Bush, Running Up That Hill, a little bit of Tiffany.
You've got some guilty pleasures. I wasn't a massive fan, although it was my era, of the 80s music, but I was polar opposites to all of my friends. So I would have been like the
Mm,
Clash, the Police, Style Council, all of those kind of things. But I also loved the top club sounds, because the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, best club sounds ever. So
yeah.
even my kids, they turned around and said, yeah, way beyond any of the club
Oh,
sounds. So, so
but it's so cool. Yeah, no, I'm not into like the stuff from today in clubs or anything like that. Techno, absolutely not.
no, but no, give me a bit of faithless any day. God is a DJ. Happy. So anyway, going completely off piece, but that's fine. I love that. So anyway, thank you again, Yvonne. It's been an absolute pleasure listening to you and your journey, and also how you're helping others to thrive and shine. And for anybody that's out there, if you've enjoyed this episode, then please subscribe, and also share with any of your friends, and listening to some of the other ones. We've got some that's around people pleasing, around sleep, and also people that have come from really traumatic upbringing, but have now been able to learn from those experiences and been able to thrive and shine themselves. So let's thrive and shine beyond belief and be able to share the message to everybody. Anyway, have a fantastic day.